All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by good friends over at Bet Online and SCL Mortgage. I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am ready. Maybe should have done the whole influencer thing where I stick my head in a bowl of water before this because I'm looking a little ragged, but I'm here. And I'm excited to talk about the Denver Nuggets win over the Houston Rockets last night. Final score 116-111. Just a very impressive performance all the way around from the Denver Nuggets, who did not have Nikola Jokic for the fourth straight game. I believe that is like 10 missed games for Nikola at this point. It's one of the largest numbers of missed games that he's had in a little bit. And he's probably going to miss tonight, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. But Denver had to step up; they had to press on, and he performed. Or Jamal Murray was fantastic. DeAndre Jordan was fantastic. Lots of guys stepped up for the Denver Nuggets in a variety of ways, and we will talk about it all on this episode of Pickaxe and Roll. Once again, I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. We've got a variety of folks in here. Macy Corwin says, can't write this team off yet. Very much agree. It's you can feel like things are not trending the way that you're hoping, but like when Murray plays like that and you know that Jokic can play like he has, then you give yourself a chance against pretty much every team. Nolan says, let's go Nuggets. Let's go Nuggets. Boyan waving in and saying hello. What's up? Lots of good stuff here. Boyan says, can we get more of Pickett? I'm not sure that Jalen has really earned more time. This last game, like he only played 3 minutes, and I didn't think he was great. Denver has to kind of balance between finding their rotation and other things. Like, I don't think that Jalen is going to factor into what the Nuggets are doing in the playoffs, but you never know. And maybe that is a good reason to try to play him a little bit more just so you can be sure. So totally understand that way of thinking and that particular perspective. But we got to talk about this game. But before we do that, let's discuss Bet Online, who's the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. During all this madness we got going on, whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball. And they've had a $200,000 bracket contest, but and somebody will win it, but nobody's going to get a perfect bracket, that's for sure. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source, so make sure to go check them out. They've got all the odds, stats, and lines from every game that you could possibly want. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, let's discuss it. Let's figure this out. Denver without Jokic. I did the show last night with Matt, and he shared, I think, a very interesting stat. Jokic has been out now for 10 games. In 3 of the games the Nuggets have been favored, they are 0-3 in those games. In 7 of the games that they have not been favored, because, you know, when Jokic goes out, it's hard to win. Denver is 4-3 in those games, straight up. Pretty interesting to see. Denver, I think they kind of relax when Jokic doesn't play, or when they're facing against a sub-500 team, even when Jokic doesn't play. And so when he does, or when you're facing a plus 500 team, when you're facing a team like the Rockets that you know is very good, Denver's now 45-27. Rockets are 46-26. They're in the same tier. It's very clear that the Nuggets have to respect them. I think they try. I think they really try to be serious about it. And they knew that they had to get it done. And so they found a way. They go 116-111 over this Houston Rockets squad. And 2 guys to me really stepped up. Other guys did step up too, but 2 in particular I was really, really impressed with. Jamal Murray and DeAndre Jordan. Jamal Murray, 39 points, like hard to not show out in that situation. 39 points, 15 of 28 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. 7 assists, 1 turnover, 4 rebounds, was a plus 19 in a game that the Nuggets won by 5. Now that sounds like Jokic to me. That sounds like a guy who made a lot of impact and was able to kind of settle the team down in the minutes that he did play. Murray played 38 minutes. In the 10 minutes that he didn't play, the Nuggets were minus 14. Not a surprise, because when he was out there, Murray, it felt like the team was getting good possessions on a consistent basis. They had 9 turnovers as a squad. That is a very low number, especially against a team like Houston that does a good job of forcing turnovers and forcing misses and making you uncomfortable and doing those things. So Jamal only having 1 turnover in a game where he got up 28 shots and had 7 assists is very impressive. Kept the ball under control, made sure to keep Amen Thompson and Dylan Brooks at a distance. Those guys didn't have that much of an impact. But it was fascinating to watch this game and fascinating to watch Murray kind of pick and choose his matchups and seeing who he was going to go at. He sought out Dylan Brooks a lot of the time. He sought out Amen Thompson a lot of the time. But mostly kind of in the closing minutes, he was going at Jalen Green. And Denver, they tired out. They gassed out a little bit. Murray got a little bit tired. His 1 turnover came when it was forced by Fred VanVleet while he was trying to do an exchange with Christian Brown in the closing minutes. And a game that Denver probably should have won by like 10. They only won by 5. But they still were able to figure it out. And the fact that Murray was able to turn what was a kind of a horrible, subpar, apathetic performance on Friday into such an amazing one on Sunday, yesterday, against this Houston team, that's a big deal. It's a really, really, really big deal. And was just very impressed with how he handled the situation. And you know how much pressure Houston was going to put on him. And I thought he handled it beautifully. Some of the shots that he was hitting, like these are tough shots. These are crazy shots. But that's just who Jamal Murray is. That's who he can be for this team. So nice to see him step up in that moment. Got a couple comments here. Anthony says, Jamal was great last night. I'm curious how he plays tonight. Consistency has been an issue for Murray. Kind of. Like, honestly, it hasn't been as much of an issue since December. I'm going to say like, he's been very consistent. Yeah, he's probably got a little bit of a drop-off when you're playing back-to-backs or you're in a situation where you play a good game and then you play a worse game. Guys, like the only guys that play great all the time are your all-NBA MVP guys. And even then, like, I don't know, Jason Tatum will have a down game the next day after he has a great one. Just as an example, Shea just went 7 of 29 against the Clippers. So, like, it happens. It really does. And I think that the funny thing with Jamal is that once you sign that contract and you get paid like a top 15 player or pretty close to it, everybody's going to be looking at you sideways. Everybody's going to be looking, especially when you start the season that you do, everybody is going to be expecting more. And to be fair, he's given more. He's been better. He's been better than I think he ever has been. And just finding that extra gear on a consistent basis, especially of late, I think has turned what was initially a very disappointing season into one of his best of his career. And that's crazy to think about. Think about this. Murray is now averaging 21.6 points per game. His career high is 21.2. So he's at a career high in points. He's at 6.0 assists compared to 2.1 turnovers. Those are both in line with his career averages, especially of late. 3.8 assists or 3.8 rebounds is in line with his career average. 1.4 steals is a career high. 47.6% from the field, 39.9% from 3. He's effectively at 40. EFG percentage is at 54.7, and free throw percentage is at near a career high as well. He has been efficient. He's been effective. Things haven't always worked out for Denver offensively, and there are some underlying metrics on Basketball Reference that are not super kind to him. But there are other metrics that are very, very kind to him and what he has provided on a consistent basis this year. So I don't know. I think that, like, you just kind of look over his EPM, estimated plus minus on dunks and threes, ranks 23rd in the entire NBA. It's in between Kevin Durant, Peyton Pritchard, and Trae Young. Trae Young is considered a great offensive player. Jamal Murray's been right there with him. So he has had what I think is a pretty impressive season overall. And while it's unfortunate that he has the starts that he has on a consistent basis, he is kind of just being back to the awesome second half of the year player that he often is. And that's good for Denver. That's a really good sign, because if you have Jokic playing at the level that he can play, and then you have Murray effectively like every now and then getting to this level, then that is like, you don't need that much more. You need everybody else to be connected, and Denver probably doesn't have that. But they've got the first two steps down if you think that Murray can recreate some of these moments in the playoffs, and I think he can. So we'll see. CT Fazio asks, do you think Watson or Russ should be the sixth option in the playoffs? I still think it's probably Russ. I think that Peyton has... There are going to be times where he should play more because Denver needs a little bit more athleticism. They need a little bit more length and versatility, and somebody that can just spot up on the three-point line and give like Murray and Jokic and Porter and guys like that a little bit of a break on the deep. Well, not a break, but like space the floor out enough. And Watson can do that for sure. But Westbrook has done that as well. And so, but if you need somebody to just kind of get out of the way offensively, then Watson's probably your guy. Russ needs to be involved at various times. He's not just going to be a guy that gives up the ball and stands in the corner on a consistent basis. And then defense, like it's really going to be, I think, layers to that, because there were times, and I think this is probably a pretty good replication of Christian Brown. Let me start over. In the playoffs, when Denver won in 2023, Denver had Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, and Jeff Green coming off their bench. That to me kind of sounds like this year, where Russell Westbrook is Bruce Brown. Like, Russ should play more, but he didn't always close over Christian Brown. He didn't always play more. There were a couple times every now and then that Christian Brown played. And like, especially in that Miami game, he was massive, that Miami series. So I think that Russ will be the sixth option, but that doesn't mean the seventh option, which is probably Watson in this case, is going to play so much less. Like, I think that both of those guys will have value in this particular playoff run. Let's go to DJ, because I cannot get over how great DeAndre Jordan was. Like, this is a guy who didn't play for 8 games. This is a guy who I think Denver is saving as much energy as possible. They do not know what they're ultimately going to do when the playoffs roll around from a big perspective. I think they wanted to practice Aaron Gordon lineups at the 5. They wanted to practice a variety of things, give Zeke Naji some extra run, see what he can do heading into like what they're expecting to be. Hey, this is going to be a playoff series that you may have to be a part of. We've never played Zeke Naji in the playoffs. Let's see what he has. And they got away from DeAndre Jordan, and I think that they got back to him and realized, okay, like, this is his hometown. Let's see what he can provide. And he was so good. He was so good in this game. 38 minutes is crazy. He was +5 in a game they won by 5. Did have 5 fouls, but overall was just like fantastic. 11 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. Did a good job of fighting off Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun. Both of those guys had great rebounding games overall. But Jordan had the most of anybody. 15 rebounds compared to Sengun at 14 and Steven Adams at 12. By the way, 12 Steven Adams rebounds in 23 minutes. That dude should be a Nugget next year. Like, I genuinely believe that, like, when Deron Holmes comes back and Denver kind of reshapes their roster, They're trying to figure out who they can play, like what they need. I think if you wanted a stable 7-footer type, Steven Adams is the exact kind of guy that they should get. And I believe he is a free agent next year. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I think that DJ was great, especially in this moment. He's not going to have a ton of moments where he's great all the time, but he was great all the time in this particular game. It was just very, very impressive. He controlled the middle of the paint. He did everything that he needed to do from a physicality perspective. He grabbed offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. He was setting up DHOs for guys, including one to Michael Porter Jr. in the clutch that was very big. And he was just one of those guys that you can trust in this situation. You can count on. He's not going to be overwhelmed in a situation like this. He's seen everything. And some of the lobs that he was throwing down, some of the dunks that he was throwing down, the Aaron Gordon one where he kind of shoveled and pitched a pass to DJ in the middle of the floor, and DJ went up and dunked on, I believe it was Şengün. Very impressive play. And he just like continues to get up on a consistent basis. It's not something he's going to be able to do every game, but he showed out in this one and just was really, really impressive. Happy for DJ. These are moments throughout a year where the team needed something that they could rally around. And Jamal Murray making tough shots is not that. They needed somebody that was dominating, was shining in this moment, was playing great defense, was something that was unexpected. And that's what DJ is. Like, he's just a guy that figures it out, and was bringing the smile on his face, but he was mean mugging a little bit in this game too. So good for him, and good for the Nuggets for getting this done, for trusting him. Michael Malone putting him into a good position to succeed against this particular team. I think it shows that if the Nuggets were to play the Rockets, Jokic would have a pretty good series. They're a great defense, but I think Jokic would figure that out. And I think that he would be okay versus Şengün, like just finding ways to dominate in that particular round. So who knows? We'll see what happens with it, but really impressed with the way that the Nuggets handled their business, and they shined in a very important way. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about more bench options. I'll say a little bit more about Russ. We'll also get into Murray and not Murray, MPJ and Aaron Gordon and what they were able to provide in this one. And then we'll preview tonight's game against the Chicago Bulls. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Really good stuff from the Nuggets last night. They go to now 44. Oh, no, it's my mistake. 45-27. They are third by themselves currently in the Western Conference, though. The Lakers are tied with them in the loss column. The Lakers are going to keep winning. I know that it's actually funny. The Nuggets faced the Lakers and were embarrassed a few days ago. But the Lakers are 4-6 now in their last 10 games. They just lost to the Chicago Bulls, who the Nuggets are about to face. And they are in a pretty tough position. They're falling a little bit. Memphis is 5-5. Denver's 5-5 in their last 10. Everybody else has been really good in the Western Conference, but those three teams are just struggling right now. So Denver has to find more opportunities over the course of these next few games to separate a little bit if they can. Because if you're looking at the Western Conference playoff standings right now, OKC 1, Houston 2, Denver 3, Lakers 4, Grizzlies 5, Warriors 6, Timberwolves 7, Clippers 8. If it stayed like that, Nuggets fans are probably like, hold stay right there, because if you're the Nuggets, I think you can match up with the Warriors. And if you beat them in the first round series, then yeah, Houston, Minnesota would be a tough second round series. Like either of those teams would be tough in the second round, but Houston gets home court and maybe they outpace Minnesota. And if they were to do that, then you're facing Houston in the second round. And OKC and the Lakers, you're only guaranteed to face one of them at that point in the final Western Conference Finals, if you're lucky enough to get there. So yeah, could Denver lose to Minnesota in the second round if they were to upset Houston? Sure. But Houston's also pretty good, and they could provide a challenge for a team like Minnesota. So if you're the Nuggets, I think you would feel pretty good about where the standings are. So you have to keep finding ways to win. And Denver, with 10 games to go, if you win like 6 of them, you give yourself a pretty good chance for that to happen. 6 of them, 7 of them or so. I think we'll see what happens in that particular situation. Okay. Let's get back to it. Michael Porter, I didn't speak enough about him. 17 points on 16 shots, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. Thought he was pretty physical. Thought he was like a big option for Denver in this one. As much credit as DeAndre gets for 15 rebounds, Michael Porter deserves credit for 9. Houston was attacking the glass. There were times when Zeke Naji was out there, when the bench was out there, when the Nuggets were staggering guys, and Porter was a part of that. So he's not entirely blameless in that, but there were times where the Nuggets were just looking so overwhelmed on the glass that they were really struggling. They were really trying to find an opportunity to be more successful there. Michael Porter, 9 rebounds, I think is a big deal, especially against that particular team where it's pretty tough. Everybody's pretty physical. But then some of the buckets that he made, had a turnaround 3 at the buzzer in the second quarter, I believe. It was the third quarter, excuse me. Had a nice DHO with DeAndre Jordan with about 4 minutes left to go, just kind of freestyling the play, getting to a spot, rising up. He looked like Kevin Durant on that play, because that's exactly where Kevin Durant shines right now. Kind of that 12 to 15 foot range where nobody can contest his jumper because he's so tall. Michael Porter kind of looked like the same version of that. So hopefully Denver can find some of those kinds of plays in the playbook in the playoffs, because it's just found money at that situation. So credit to Mike for stepping up like that. Some of the plays that he had 4 offensive rebounds in this game, made sure to kind of capitalize on some of the size advantages that he had in this particular matchup. Anthony says, MPJ had his moments, but he was still a -4 for a reason. You want to know why he was a -4? It's because Jamal Murray was a +19, and Jamal Murray played the entire first and the entire third quarter. And then Jamal Murray, in the minutes where he was not out there, like the Nuggets were a -14. So that's why Michael Porter was a -4, because he was out there for those moments in their entirety. But if you do the math, he was only a -4. So he was +10 in all the other minutes. And like, this is where plus minus and single game plus minus can really be a factor. Like, do I think that Mike was great all the time? No. Do I think that he was extremely helpful in a win where the Nuggets just needed somebody to grab some rebounds and score some buckets? Yeah. The touchdown pass that he had to Peyton Watson was very impressive. So it's just I think it is very important to, like, when they earn it, give guys some credit for, and especially for Mike, who has had a tough second half of the season. Like, give him some credit. I thought he was fine. Aaron Gordon does deserve some of that as well. Only 5 of 9 in this game. He was more effectively a facilitator than he was more effectively a facilitator than he was a scorer in this particular game. They credited him with 0 turnovers. I'm not sure how that's possible, because he caught one of those balls and then chucked it out to midcourt. They must have credited that one to Murray and credited Murray's turnover to Christian. I don't know. But either way, Impressive stuff from Aaron Gordon, 13 points, 8 assists, 0 turnovers effectively in this game. His defense was pretty solid. Nothing crazy. There were some moments where he rotated up and nobody really rotated behind him, and it looked pretty dumb. But not really his fault. The team as a whole has to be able to execute this defensive scheme a little bit better. It's like they got a taste of their own medicine with Şengün in the middle of the floor, rolling to that middle spot and then assisting other guys who are cutting and flashing to the corners and things like that. Pretty interesting to watch Denver being hit with that, but still thought that they handled it well. Thought that Gordon handled it well overall. I honestly thought that defense was pretty solid in this game. The only issue is that Denver doesn't force a lot of turnovers. 6 turnovers allowed, and they're also overwhelmed physically in this one, especially when Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün were out there at the same time. Like, those guys are just monsters. That's a hard place for anybody to be. And finally in this game, Christian Braun was fine. I didn't think it was anything really to write home about, but he did hit an important 3. Had some good moments against Jalen Green guarding him. But Russell Westbrook deserves some credit too. His hands, Peyton Watson, I guess deserves some credit too. Both of those guys, I thought, handled their business pretty well. Peyton Watson hit a key corner 3 in the fourth quarter. Russell Westbrook went 2 of 4 from 3 as well. But each of them had 3 stocks, and one of those possessions from Russ ended up turning into a bucket for Russ on the other end, where Murray got out in transition. But the only reason that they were able to get out in transition was because of Russ's great hands and his ability to kind of disrupt what the Rockets were doing. Denver did a pretty good job of defending about as well as could be expected in this game. They got hit with some tough fouls every now and then, and Russ got hit with some tough fouls. He actually fouled out in this game. Not a perfect game for him by any means, but he was helpful, deserves some credit. You're going to need somebody who can soak up minutes and be productive in those games. And like Russ, 14 points off the bench, only 1 assist, not really an assist game for him, but that's fine. He found other ways to be successful, and that's really important. Peyton Watson, another great defensive game for him overall. Thought it was a professional game, a one where he showed that he could play at this level and in a playoff context. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what the matchups look like in the playoffs. But I think if it's against the Rockets, Peyton Watson can play. Okay. The bench going to have to keep finding some stability. I wanted to talk about this just really briefly, and then we'll hit the Nuggets Bulls game tonight. The Nuggets, are going to start Jokic, Murray, Porter, Gordon, Christian Braun. That's what's going to happen. That's how it's going to go. Denver's going to give that opportunity. They're going to give that group, I think, one last major opportunity before considering changes seriously. That's how it's going to be in the playoffs. Denver knows it. Everybody around here knows it. It's not like a last dance situation, but I think everybody knows that when you fail like they did last year, where things were expected to go well and then you fall well short of your goal, you kind of have a little bit more intensity about, okay, have to make good on this opportunity now. And there were opportunities for Denver to kind of change the formula last year. The Nuggets decided that they wanted to keep the main group going, and I totally understand that. I totally believe that they did the right thing in terms of giving the core 4 another shot at it. Like you say, okay, yeah, last year weren't as healthy, weren't as ready, or exhausted, trying to figure out how to handle it. This year, the hunger should be back. The desperation should be back. And if you find ways to be successful, then you can say that the previous year was a little bit of a fluke. If you don't find ways to be successful, if something goes wrong, or if you're in a different place, then yeah, okay, can figure out from there what's supposed to happen. But the thing that really stood out about, again, that 2023 run, and I always bring that one up because it is Denver's biggest example of everybody finding success in their role and playing their role really well. You had 5 starters, including KCP, who were all doing exactly what they were supposed to do to win that championship. But you also had 3 bench players, and DJ on occasion as the ninth kind of insert backup center here kind of option. And they were able to shine in a big moment. They were able to do it exactly what they needed to do. You had different guys stepping up in different contexts. Defensively, they were very good. Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, Jeff Green. You knew what you were going to get from those guys on a consistent basis. It wasn't always going to be perfect, but you knew that they were going to deliver on the game plan. And I think that this year, if it's Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, and Zeke Naji, if that's what Denver's going with, and I don't know if that's what they're going with, but if that is what they're going with, then you need to find that level of stability with that group as well. I'm a little bit shaky on Zeke. I think that that's still, the jury's still out on that one. But with Peyton Watson, you need to trust it. Like, the defense is there. It's a very similar analog to what Christian Brown was doing on a consistent basis. Christian Brown only played like 15 minutes per game off the bench. Can you get the same thing from Peyton Watson, where he plays sometimes 15, sometimes 25, sometimes 5? Yeah, you probably can. The real one is Russell Westbrook. What Bruce Brown was able to provide on a consistent basis was somebody that was able to take on more ball screens, take on more pressure with the ball in their hands, but also operate with some attitude, with some physicality, with some defense, and giving Denver kind of the jack of all trades player that they needed to kind of fit in based off of who needed to rest. If it's Michael Porter who needs to rest, Russell Westbrook can come in, give you some spacing, give you a guy that can shoot. If it is Christian Brown who needs some rest, Russell Westbrook can come in, be the guy who can defend on the ball. If it's Jamal Murray who needs to rest, Russell Westbrook can come in, play the two-man game with Jokic. That's the theory. That's the hope. And it is like, that's a tough spot to be in. Like, he'll do it a little bit differently. He has to be under control, cannot let go of the rope. But he is a more talented player than Bruce Brown is. I think that that's pretty clear. So we'll see if the opportunity presents itself for him to be that guy. We'll see if Denver starters are at the same level that they were back in 2023. I kind of don't expect that, because it's just hard for Denver to replicate what was a perfect blend at that time. But you never know. Maybe Christian Brown steps up and has some really great defensive moments in this upcoming playoff series. That's very possible. Maybe Jamal Murray just plays like he did back in 2023. That is very possible. Michael Porter's had a pretty down second half. Does that mean that he's kind of gearing up and getting ready for a positive playoff run? Who knows? So I think if you are looking glass half full, if I just boil it down to Jokic plays like Jokic did, Murray plays like Jokic did, or Murray plays like Murray did, Porter plays like Porter did, Gordon plays like Gordon did, and then Christian Brown plays like KCP did, you can see that. You can see that happening, right? Like, it's not that crazy. And then it's just about the bench kind of replicating what the bench did previously. And it's not too far off. I don't think it's that crazy. That's the glass half full version. You guys know where I currently stand on this. But again, when Jokic and Murray play like they can play, you give yourself an opportunity every single time. So I'm going to wait before I write everybody off. I think that's like, this team has earned the right to at least let you see what happens here. So we'll see what happens. All right, final thing. Nuggets play the Bulls tonight. Let me pull up the injury report for the Bulls and see if they are going to be resting anybody. They played the Lakers just a little bit ago. Lonzo's out. Ayo Dosunmu is out. Trey Jones is out. So 3 ball handlers that would be giving a little bit more consistency on the defensive end. Those guys are all very good defenders. I think that, so Josh Giddey's been playing really great basketball. There are other guys that have been playing really great basketball for the Bulls as well. Mataz Buzelis, the rookie that they have been playing, just came off of a great game against the Lakers. They came off of a great win against the Lakers overall. So this is going to be an interesting game. Going to be an interesting moment for Denver. Can they handle themselves The Bulls are in ninth place in the Eastern Conference, so they still have something left to play for. I'm going to be curious to see what it looks like. But yeah, Kobe White just had 36. Josh Giddey just had 15, 17, 10, and 8. Like, holy cow, that is a crazy win. That's a crazy performance. Buzelis just had 31. Like, he can score. He can play. Nikola Vucevic, who's usually kind of the main guy that they would go to, had 12. He had 12, 12, and 5. Like, those guys were fantastic. And this was against the fully healthy Lakers. That included Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves, a group that gave Denver a lot of trouble. So respect the Bulls, respect what they can provide. This is going to be a tough game for Denver, and it looks like they're not going to have Jokic. So I think that I would probably predict that Denver loses tonight. It just seems like the Bulls are playing at a pretty good place. Seems like they're in a good spot as a team. They've won 3 of their last 4, and actually they've won 7 of their last 9. So they've found a little bit more of a lease on life since the Zach LaVine trade. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what Denver can do. Jamal Murray needs to step up here. But more than him, I really do think that this is a Michael Porter game. Michael Porter's got to step up. This has to be one where he puts in 5 threes, where he puts in a pretty strong performance against a rookie in Buzelis, who's been outplaying a lot of other people, including guys like LeBron James and Luka Doncic. So can Michael Porter step up in that moment? Can he handle that? It's a fair question. Who would guard him in this particular game? I think it's Buzelis or Josh Giddey or Kevin Huerter or Kobe White. And then Patrick Williams off the bench. So like AG, Michael Porter, guys like that. I actually wouldn't be surprised if DeAndre Jordan goes back to the bench and doesn't play in this one, or maybe plays a lesser role. So Denver will play a little bit smaller. They'll be a little bit more switchy, and they're going to have to sit down and guard. They're going to have to find more opportunities to really match up with the Chicago team. But yeah, I don't feel super confident in Denver in this particular game, but who knows? Maybe they step it up. Maybe they just stepped it up against Houston. They are often great on the second night of back-to-backs. We'll see what happens. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at Bet Online. I didn't do my SCL mortgage read, did I? Here, you're all here. You're getting it now. SCL mortgage. Do you need? God, this is embarrassing. Hundreds of great mortgage companies are out there, but only one has great, happy customers and a 5-star reputation here locally in Denver. SCL Mortgage. Make sure to give them a call, 303-790-2222, or visit myspecialmortgage.com. Always impressed with our folks over at SCL Mortgage. They do a great job. Gosh, this is just, I can't believe I did this. Always thank you to SCL Mortgage for being a part of the Mile High Sports family. And again, make sure to contact them, 303-790-2222, or visit myspecialmortgage.com. Whether you need a new home, a second mortgage, a specialized loan, or just somebody that you can trust in this business. All right, thank you so much to everybody for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys very, very, very soon.